So let's take a look at a chart using the screen that I have. Let's look at the law of supply and demand. This shows that when demand is greater than supply, then prices will rise to meet this demand, and conversely, when supply is greater than demand, then prices will fall. So I'll just bring up the first chart here, and this area right here is a good example of supply and demand. You can see when the stock was drifting down, the group was drifting down, so there was more supply than demand. But we started getting these VPA flags indicating that there was some accumulation. The group started turning up here and shot up, and the stock went up. So we went from an oversupply to a situation where this stock suddenly became in demand, and the VPA flags were indicating that demand. Now when it got up here, the supply overcame the demand and the stock stalled out, but when it fell, it really didn't fall that far. It fell quite a ways if you bought up here at the top, but it drifted sideways. You can see that it held up okay, bouncing off of the 50-day moving average. But right here we're at an equilibrium where supply and demand are in agreement. Now recently that has changed. We see some positive VPA flags here. Support is holding in this area. The group is moving up, and then yesterday, or on Friday I should say, we had an effort to rise VPA flag because volume was coming into it. So if I go back to this PDF file, we're going to look at the law of cause and effect. The second law states that in order to have an effect, you must have a cause, and furthermore, the effect will be in direct proportion to the cause. In other words, a small amount of volume activity will only result in a small amount of price action. So if I go back to this chart, and I pointed this out earlier, you can see that volume's coming into this. So this is confirming right now that the demand is back up on this. Now, I don't know if we're going to get a run like this. Nobody knows. We have to get past this resistance area here. But suddenly, we went from a supply situation to a demand situation. And if I bring this back up, this exhibits the law of cause and effect. What is the cause? The volume is the cause, but will that be sustained? Now, if I go back over here and look, notice how quiet it was in here when this was being accumulated, how quiet it was on the volume, but the stock started moving up and the volume started increasing also. So that was confirming the cause, the volume, and the effect during this run right here. Now moving back to the PDF file, we're going to look for the law of effort versus result. This is Wyckoff's third law, and every action must have an equal and opposite reaction. In other words, the price action on the chart must reflect the volume action below, and we see this right here. As this was moving up, the volume was confirming it. Now we don't know what's going to happen over on this side. This is really just a one-day event right now as far as the VPA flag being generated, but the volume is increasing over the last few days. So we are getting some confirmation on this. As I said before, it has to get past resistance here, and we don't know if this is going to continue, but for now it is meeting the third law, or Wyckoff's third law, which is the law of effort versus result. So the volume has to confirm what is happening up here with the price. Now let's look at it back in this area when the stock was just really bouncing around and going sideways. The volume was doing the same thing. So it was pretty much confirming what the price was doing, which was very little. And you can see that in the volume also. When you see the big changes, like we did here, when the stock either moves up or moves down on volume, that is a confirmation that the move is legitimate. But you have to be in a situation where there is strong demand or strong supply, and you need more direction. Here we get a directional move. Here we're starting to get a directional move. Here we had a directional move on a big volume spike, but you can see that it did not follow through. What would have had to happen here is you would have to, this would have had to break past resistance pass here beyond this area, and the volume would have had to continue to go up to continue or to confirm the move. And the volume stalled out right here, and that is a breakout failure. There just was not enough demand to continue this move up here. Traders are not willing to come in here and buy this. This could have been a news event, and they just did not commit to bringing the demand up to a level which would support the breakout. Now, one thing I want to point out here, and this is very important, the group was going down. You need confirmation. Well, you don't always need confirmation, but it's always better to have the group moving in the same direction as the demand on the individual stock.